Hello, this is DC Hammer, and this is the DC Hammer Show. So for all of those climate change enthusiasts, we see here by this picture coming to us from ChinaNews.net that China is doing a whole lot for the environment. This is a gigantic outdoor coal mine that they are farming, not for that clean, beautiful coal that we have here in the United States, for that dirty, awful coal over in places like China where they're using outdated technology and polluting the air and causing impending doom if you believe in the climate change extremists. So why aren't they over protesting in China? They are increasing their coal use and climate concerns continue to mount. And since China is the world's biggest coal user and has boosted its consumption for the second year in a row, posting the largest increases since 2013, this doesn't sound like good news for people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez that are willing to spend $93 trillion in order to make the new Green Deal take place. But I bet for a fraction of that expense, you could make a huge impact on the climate of this planet merely by going to China and impressing upon them the imperative to reduce their use of dirty fuels and to increase their respect for the environment by doing the things that we already do here in this country. Burn clean coal, harvest our resources effectively and prudently, and make decisions based on a balance between concern for the environment and the concerns for a profit. But since there is no profit motive in communist China, the Red Dragon continues to do whatever it wants. And as in the United States, where consumers go to other companies that are more environmentally responsible, in communist China, the people just do and buy whatever they're told to do and buy. And so the communist Chinese can continue to do whatever they want to increase the use of the fossil fuels that create all the problems in the environment and create all those problems for the people living within its borders and now spilling over into the countries outside of its borders, using billions of metric tons of dirty coal and the burning of which then spewing into the atmosphere. Once again, I say, we need to send a delegation from the House of Representatives in the United States to Communist China to deal with them regarding their completely irresponsible approach to the environment. And I believe that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez should lead that delegation. So whatever billions of dollars you would spend in the United States to tweak our emissions units down by 1/10%, you could spend, again, a fraction of that money in communist China and make an enormous difference in what they are doing to push pollutants into the environment while apparently going completely unnoticed by the Democrats on the Hill. The Daily Signal is reporting that, as you can see from these happy guys standing on the hill over in Syria, ISIS is gone. And so thank you, President Trump. ISIS, as he was showing his little map the other day to anyone who would pay any attention, he's got a two-part map, President Trump, and on the top end it shows what ISIS was like, this big giant red blotch. It kind of looked like that birthmark that Mikhail Gorbachev had on his forehead. And that is now gone and been replaced by a clean sheet, a clean slate, as in ISIS is gone. Thank you, President Trump. Pamela Geller is reporting on the Geller Report that there was a protest at Brooklyn College. They were rallying against the New Zealand shooting, and they did so by turning their protest into a call for the murder of Jews. So as they were holding their little vigil a couple days ago about that act of violence that took place in New Zealand, the small crowd that showed up, instead of leading one to believe that they believe in peace and coexistence between cultures and faiths, instead they made it perfectly clear that their main thrust is to murder all the Jews in Israel, and that would end the violence, because once again, after all the Jews are dead, then at least the Islamists could put down their weapons and no longer have to kill. Oh, wait a minute. No, they still have to kill all the other believers, because after they destroy the little Satan, that is Israel, then they have to go after the big Satan, and that is the United States. And it appears that Brooklyn College has a leg up on the rest of our country as they get ready then to rain down violence on Israel. And I'm sure this is going to come as a big shock. This is coming from Politico. And just as we were expecting to get some kind of justice out of the injustice that was used in order to let Jeffrey Epstein off after his trial when he was convicted of sex abuse with underage kids, so just before it appeared that the motion was going to go forward in order to retry Jeffrey Epstein, he passed away. So if anybody wants to get out that list that everybody's been tracking for the past several years since the Clintons left Arkansas and went to Washington, D.C., I don't know if you can add one more name to the list, but the judge in this case, Manhattan-based U.S. District Court Judge Robert Sweet, passed away. He was an elderly gentleman. He was 96. So it could be that this was just another fortuitous move as Satan continues to protect his minions, the people that support him on this planet, like Jeffrey Epstein. And so this will be reassigned to a new judge, and we will see how that goes. There was a motion being made by anonymous parties. I don't know, anonymous as in Rachel Chandler, perhaps, a John Doe and a Jane Doe, to prevent the documents leading up to the sentencing, or almost, well, I should say, almost non-sentencing of Jeffrey Epstein, to be kept under wraps. And who knows, with a new judge that'll take over in this case, we can continue to pray for those documents to be made known to the public so there truly can be additional justice. And for the retrial then of Jeffrey Epstein and the appropriate sentencing at the end of that, let's pray that that is so. So unless you climbed Mount Everest over the weekend and just have returned from that, everyone knows that Special Counsel U1 Bob Mueller found that there was no collusion in the 2-year-long, 19-lawyered, 2,800 subpoenaed, 500 search-warranted efforts of Special Counsel Bob Mueller. So no collusion, no coordination with Russia between Trump and Russia in the 2016 election. And other shoes are going to drop as the deep state is on the run. It appears that the light is shining through the darkness, and we'll see how this goes in the upcoming weeks as it appears that justice is finally returning to the United States. And on that note, this comes from the Washington Examiner, and Dr. Jerome Corsi, the one who I believe helped set this entire avalanche towards truth in motion by defying the Mueller team, is now, not only has he won by being vindicated, by not being indicted after they were trying to get him to sign a plea deal for things that he had never done, he now wants Mueller to pay the price. So Dr. Corsi had defied Special Counsel Mueller a couple months ago and refused to sign on the dotted line that he had committed a crime that he did not commit. He had vowed to press forward with his civil case that has now grown to $350 million against Mueller and his team of American inquisitors. So as the Mueller report went to AG Barr this weekend, and AG Barr and the former darling of the Marxist screaming media and Democrats, Rod Rosenstein, and Attorney General Barr sat down and went through the issues together presented to them by the special counsel and agreed that there was not only no reason to indict anyone in this situation, especially President Trump, but there was also no case for obstruction as well. And the moral of the story, according to Dr. Corsi's attorney, Larry Klayman, thugs coming after them, Dr. Corsi set the wheels in motion when he said, "No dice, go fish. I'm not signing that piece of paper. I will not admit to things I did not do." And since Dr. Corsi was being accused of contacting Julian Assange and doing things that, even though they weren't illegal, by the deep state's way that they look at justice, even just admitting that he had looked at some emails and connected some dots when it came to the Hillary Clinton case, apparently that's a major crime. And you can overlook the fact that Hillary Clinton had an illegal server, tens of thousands of emails containing confidential information that should never have been placed on that uncontrolled server. She can walk free, and when in fact was given her freedom before she was even testifying before the FBI 2 years ago. But for Dr. Corsi, who had a momentary lapse of memory about one email that he had sent 2 years before while he was being grilled by the American inquisitors over a period of several weeks and 40 hours worth of questioning in a closed, windowless room and not even allowed to take bathroom breaks, he then realized that he had made one misstatement regarding one email, came immediately back to the persecutors and informed them that he wanted to amend his statement. They allowed him to do so, but then later on, when they realized they weren't able to catch him up in perjury traps other than the one that they allowed him to amend his testimony for, they then presented in front of him a plea agreement in order for him to not be indicted, and that plea agreement would have forced him again to plea to having willfully made a wrong statement when he did nothing of the kind. So as Dr. Corsi's attorney, Larry Klayman, went on to state that what Mueller did was abhorrent, and it went on for 2 years for no reason. Larry Klayman believes that if the President Trump, had taken a more aggressive stance towards this, it would not have dragged on for so long. But, on the other hand, at this point in time, with how things are going now, it may have been actually the best way to proceed with this. Absolutely no pressure from the White House on Mueller or his team, allowing them to continue to drag it out for as long as they chose to do so. And now there's absolutely no way that the left, even though they will try, can point the finger at Donald Trump and say that he did not allow the criminal persecution of himself and the other people to go on with, and actually cut it short. There is no logical person can make that case, but that won't stop the Democrats. Additional shoes to drop? Stay tuned. I'm sure that there's going to be other information released as the white hats, the patriots now go on offense. The deep state and the black hats are on defense. Stay tuned for additional updates. Thanks for watching, and God bless. And now the DC Hammer Show is available as an audio podcast. Just go to Podcast Garden or iTunes and search for DC Hammer or News Narrative Analysis Associates, NNAA.